Facebookers, tweeters, um, the entire social media land who's viewing this video right now. From my heart to yours, I would like to come into your computer screen right now, into your room. Quiet melodies, play some music. Just relax and enjoy some of my romantic words. I have a couple pieces I want to share. I won't take up too much time of your space, but I would like to share this from my heart to yours. Happy Valentine's Day. My first piece, I'm Darlene Richardson, and my first piece is You Heard the Cry of My Heart. So listen carefully. This is an excerpt to one of the books that I'll be finishing up shortly. So just enjoy it and remember to look for Darlene S. Richardson. It may be a pseudonym, but you'll know who it is once you pick the book up. You heard the cry of my heart. One night as Susie looked out her Chicago window, she noticed so many attractions and so many different people. Club Ritz was a couple of blocks down the street, and Susie thought, karaoke night? Maybe. I can get on the mic. She got an extra umption of energy as she watched the line grow outside the club, and she found herself in her versatile closet, searching for a red dress that brought out the songstress in her. Pushing out the door, Susie said goodbye to the boring little studio room, and she welcomed the street nightlife of Chicago's Club Ritz. Susie did a glamour check at the door before exiting her quiet studio apartment. Susie did a glamour check at the door. The fuchsia dress was a fair exchange for the red dress she couldn't find. The fuchsia color added a flavor of festive with her flair of sexiness, and the cleavage in the dress was well chosen for an outing at Club Ritz. Closing the door to her studio apartment, Susie winked with a hint of naughtiness. Although growing up on the most beautiful mountains and evergreen meadows in North Carolina and Virginia, all the city sparkles wasn't a fair exchange for the country life and the smell of fresh air. But Susie remembered what her grandma Mabel said. It was almost as if she had died yesterday, but the words so clearly rung out in Susie's mind. Baby, go travel and see the world, but never leave your talent hidden because God has given you a beautiful voice. Tears rolled down Susie's cheeks, but she smiled because the world was about to meet Susie Ariella Thorpe. From the country to the city and the bright lights of Chicago, Susie was new to such fast life, but it excited her about what may happen next. Reaching the door of the small studio apartment seemed so small compared to her big ideas and aspirations. But tonight her life as she knew it would soon change. When Susie walked the night street of Chicago, the ambience of her brightly toned golden skin brought the shimmering lights of the stars in the sky's twinkle into her dancing eyes. Little did she know that a limousine passed by her and caught the eye of one of the most popular producers of the music industry, headed straight to Club Ritz. One more block to go, Susie murmured as she noticed her shoes were beginning to get quite dusty, and the street crowd eyes looked hungry as the crowd on the long block grew, with men looking at her as wolves on fresh killed meat. Excuse me, ma'am. Susie became very startled, and she quickly turned to notice a white stretch limousine with the most handsome black man she ever saw. In fact, she felt a warm surge of energy from head to toe. Yes, she answered abruptly. Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Marcus Wellington, and I'm a pro. Before he could get the remainder out, a fight broke out ahead, ran a bunch of drunken men, and Susan quickly started thinking, the This isn't good now. I can play hard to get, or I can just pray and take this off of him. At this moment, the option of hard to get wasn't the safest option. So she just asked, "Can I please get in and get a ride to Club Ritz?" Talking fast. At this moment, Marcus Wellington knew that this had to be an act of God because he was headed there tonight for some future scouting talent. Being the cool producer he is, he said, "Sure." And immediately the driver escorted Susie away from the danger straight into open and secure arms. When Susie sat in the limousine, she hadn't yet noticed that the split in her dress had crept up to her upper thigh. Marcus did, and the sight of her beauty awakened something in him that he hadn't felt since the accident that had caused him his disability to ever walk again. But being the gentleman that he is, he didn't stare long. Because of her beauty, he had to look away. Between these two, abruptly meeting had brought about a major attraction that a magnet couldn't even distract. But they found themselves denying the feelings because they remained uncertain what the other was feeling. Marcus immediately broke the silence. He said, "I'm headed to Club Ritz tonight, and I'm so glad that I rescued you from the ugly streets of downtown Chicago." Susie smiled, but she couldn't resist the beautiful eyes of her acquaintance. "Thank you," she smiled. Marcus noticed her dimples and sexiness, and he suddenly had to take a drink of orange juice to calm his awakened hormones. Yeah, right. "I never properly introduced myself," Susie replied. My name is Susie Thorpe, soon to be songstress of the year." And she smiled after adding the last statement. Marcus looked at her and said, "I like the spunk, and in this business you have to remain positive and open-minded, and your attitude will get you to places that will help you reach that goal." Marcus licked his lips slowly. Susie smiled and smirked. Marcus never really liked to expose who he was or his type of work before allowing himself to get to know people, but he saw Susie as no threat, and this particular night had proven to him that angels are also watching over him. Marcus immediately asked Susie to join him at his reserved table, and Susie knew with this immediate connection he must be someone well known, so she immediately accepted the invitation. As they parked, Susie was wondering what they were waiting for, but she didn't notice the wheelchair propped against the seat. The driver quickly helped Marcus out of the stretch limousine. As he was placed in his wheelchair, Susie helped him with the necessary arrangements. Susie knew so very well about wheelchairs because her grandma Maybelle was confined to a wheelchair after a horrible fall and a weak hip. Marcus didn't look at Susie's face, but he knew real love, and tonight, that's a bad habit I have, in Chicago, he found it in this woman. You stay with me now, because it's getting juicy now. Marcus was ready to take on what he had been missing. The two of them strolled into the Club Ritz, and immediately Marcus drew the attention of the crowd. Susie loved the attention, but she started to wonder if he was legit with his professionalism. The crowd was fierce, and the blinking sign read "Open mic to any and everyone." However, she had to find a way to maneuver past the crowd, and little did she know Marcus was the MC of the entire event, and he had a plan for this angel named Susie. He explained to Susie that he had an appointment and he would love for her to have a seat at his reserved table. Susie accepted the warm invitation, but she couldn't help wondering about the open mic, and when the singer would start, she sat up right at Marcus's table observing the crowd. Yet she noticed the crowd was really noticing her, and some of the passerbys were talking about her. One of Susie's major talents was being able to bat her eyes at men, and this night she knew she had to do a lot of batting. While the hostess waited the others, she sat quietly as she reserved VIP treatment at the well-known producer's table. The country table side manner was always taught to Susie as a little girl, so I wasn't surprised when Susie had a feeling of getting up and helping out. But she knew it was best for her to stay seated because she felt her knees wobbling. The lights started dim, and she wondered where Marcus had gone. but she came in tune with the soft jazz she heard playing on stage. And then the curtain started to creep open, and to her surprise, it was Marcus holding the mic. Susie sat back in total amazement, watching from the table, and then a miracle happened. Marcus started talking to the crowd about open mic night, and then he said, while we are prepping for the upcoming acts, I want to introduce to the crowd my newest upcoming songstress of the year, Mrs. Susie Ariana Thorpe. The crowd went wild. Oh, wow, she thought in her mind. And most of all, Susie thought she would faint. Miss Susie, can you please accompany me on the stage to sing a tune to our crowd as we prepare for open mic night? Susie stood and started to pray, but most of all, she remembered what her grandmama used to say. Be ever so ready. And that's what she did. That night, Susie sang like an angel on cloud nine, and she brought the house down with applause, and the crowd wanted more. Marcus couldn't believe his ears or his eyes because Susie's beauty just magnified on the stage. After Susie had sang 3 of her written songs, she went to the table and enjoyed the blessing of knowing a handsome and well-respected man. Yeah, right, Susie had messed with her too. Susie had noticed a female standing in the darkness of the corner of the bar, close to watching her as a hawk. Marcus was slowly helped by his chauffeur to the table, and he was approached by a surprised as well as rude guest. Hi, Mr. Wellington, how are you? Well, he replied. Hello, Janine. Susie started feeling an unfriendly vibe as Janine watched her take a drink of soda. Another groupie, I suppose you are. Excuse me? Susie snapped. That was one of her most defined pet peeves, were women of no class or respect for others. I see you have occupied a place in my former reserved table in my man's presence. At this moment, Susie was very furious and she was ready to leave, but she stayed and told Marcus to handle his conflict. Susie didn't know what to say because when he spoke, he had no idea of actually knowing the truth because she had just met him several hours ago.